Welcome, everyone. It's that time of the year. It is March, and it's a mad March for sure. Um, no different than any other year. Sam and I are here to kind of break down the tournament, the world's best tournament, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything like it. That's what makes college basketball so special. And if I'm being honest, I haven't really watched a ton of basketball um, this season just because I don't know. I think that there's so many upsets that can happen. But the tournament is really where I start watching it more intensely, I would say. So, yeah. Sam, any opening thoughts before we kind of just jump right in?
Not really. It's nice to be back. We've taken a long absence, but this is the start of the return. I'm excited to get into this bracket. It's gonna be an interesting year. I'm excited for March Madness, but nah, that's it. Let's get right into this.
Yeah, some very interesting seating. And on that note, I think that one thing to definitely take into account is, a lot of people are trying to win their leagues, right? They're trying to win their
Yeah,
bracket.
yeah.
And the way to do that, in my opinion, has shifted for me this year. And in the past, I've always tried to do research on, and the majority of my research had been done on the round of 64 games. I would try to get the perfect bracket and get all my points there. When in reality, I didn't really realize, but each round, the same number of points is distributed. So, for instance, in the Final Four and in the championship game, there is 320 points in each of those rounds where there's less games, meaning that
Yeah.
each game is so much more powerful and important to get right. So, a lot of the time that I spent doing research, I'm going to be honest, was not on these 5 versus 12 games or 13 versus 4, but instead they were spent on finding who I think is going to be the national champion. Um, and here's some big stats just right off the top that can kind of help you work backwards in your brackets, where you can help pick who you think is going to be in your Final Four and your Elite Eight, and kind of work from there. You can kind of solidify what you know for sure, lock in those points. Because at the end of the day, that's a pretty good strategy. I guess we'll see if it's worthwhile. But one of the really interesting stats is so there's this guy named Ken Palm. He deals with college basketball analytics. He has his own whole rating system, and it's really, really good. Highly encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. I know it's kind of late, but every single champion in the last 14 seasons has finished top 25 in Ken Palm adjusted defense ranking. 100% of the national champions since 2002 were top 40 in Ken Palm offense and top 22 in Ken Palm defense, which only leaves us when you also take into account the fact that since 1993, only or 100% of teams have made the conference semifinals, have ended up being the champions. That leaves us with 7 teams, which include Creighton, Houston, Bama, Kansas, Texas, UCLA, and UConn. I actually think I lied to you. Oh no, it is 7 teams. But from there, you can even narrow it down even more. I think a really, really good threshold looking for these teams is their BPI ranking. So a really, really good metric is what's called the Basketball Power Index. I think it's produced by ESPN. And this stat I'm kind of proud of because I kind of extrapolated it myself. But in the last 10 tournaments, there's only been 3 times where a champion has been ranked outside of the top 2 in ESPN BPI. And that was last year when Kansas was ranked number 6 in BPI, in 2017 when UNC was number 3, so they were just outside that top 2, and then 2014 where BPI really overlooked UConn. They put them at 25 for some reason, which, by the way, UConn, a school I think we'll definitely talk about later on the pod. But yeah, so in those last 10 tournaments, if you're not ranked 1 or 2, you don't have a very good chance of winning the national championship, is what they are saying. So you might be asking yourself, who is the ESPN BPI leaders? I believe it's Houston and I want to say Bama. No, Bama is third. I think it's actually, yeah, it's actually Tennessee. For some reason, Tennessee is a second ranked BPI team. That's honestly why I'm going with Houston, as you'll see a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of other factors you should be looking for in a national champion are upperclassmen or leadership experience. So I like teams that have 2 of their top 3 points or scorers or contributors offensively are at least juniors or higher. They should be able to shoot the 3 ball. And what's really interesting, Sam, this year is that a lot of teams compared to previous years, these teams that are favorites to win the championship are not amazing 3-point shooting teams. I mean, when you look in the past, our last four national champions, you had Kansas, Baylor, Virginia, Villanova. Almost all of them are shooting over 40%. And the best 3-point shooting team that we have that fits all that criteria we talked about is UConn. And they shoot under 36% from three. And they're the 93rd best 3-point shooting team based on percentage, 3-point field goal percentage in the entire country. So a lot of these favorite teams are just going to play bully ball. They're really good shot makers inside the arc, and they play pretty solid bully ball in the paint. So I don't know, a pretty interesting dynamic. And I'm just kind of finalize this beginning segment by saying that you also really want to look at proven coaches as well. This is kind of why I've somewhat eliminated Texas from making a super deep run. They have that interim head coach because Sonny Dykes, I believe. No, wait, no, not Sonny Dykes. What am I saying?
No,
What's his name?
I forget his name too, but yeah, he's
I think it's Beam. No, I don't know, but yeah, he dipped for the rest of the season. So yeah, I don't know. I think there are some big flaws with some of the favorite teams that I'll get to a little bit later. But let's start at the top of the bracket, unless you have anything to say at the very beginning as well.
No, I think. Well, here, how about we do this? How about I'll run through my winners on the left side of our screen here, and you tell me when I get to a winner you don't agree with.
All right, that sounds good to me. I think yeah, go for it.
All right, so over here we'll start with Alabama. Got
Well,
Alabama
actually,
against Texas A&M.
why don't we?
You don't
Yeah,
agree?
well, no. I agree. I agree, obviously. But why don't we do the fans a favor and or not the fans, our viewers a favor, which by the way, go like, subscribe, share the content. Shout out Dr. Brooks for letting me share this in the class. But let's make all the number one seeds just pass through for the time being.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
It only
Yeah,
happened once. I don't think it's gonna happen this year.
I don't see any.
Yeah. Okay.
Watch out for Kansas versus Howard, but yeah.
Yeah, this is
So we
interesting.
got Alabama beating Texas A&M. Yeah, that Kansas game is going to be interesting, but we'll see. Maryland and West Virginia. I'm going to take Maryland in this game. I think they've looked good recently. They've been a good watch. West Virginia was kind of slipping through the season. Honestly, was one of those teams you don't know if they're going to make it or not, and then didn't make much noise in the conference tournament, even though that's an extremely hard conference to win. So I'm going to take Maryland in that matchup there. How about you?
I
You
don't
agree with that, or you're taking West Virginia?
I don't know. This is honestly a really big toss-up game. I think it go either way. I think it comes down to what version of the West Virginia Mountaineers we see.
I just don't
On
think it's winning basketball that they play with that high defense intensity. I don't know. I don't see it being a team like Maryland, who's looked very good to end the season.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you look at like what other people are thinking about this game, a lot of people are picking Maryland to win at 56% of the time. But the power rating and similar games like comparison has West Virginia having the slight edge. BPI is in agreement that this is a pretty much of a toss-up game. They have Maryland at 20.
So who are you taking?
I had West Virginia in mind, but I think this could go either way.
I don't mind sending West Virginia on for the sake of this bracket. We need a couple upsets anyways.
Yeah. I think that's a decent place to have an upset, I would say. So let's send West Virginia on through. I think we can kind of agree where this is going after that round of six.
Yeah.
Anyway,
San Diego State versus Charleston, I believe, is an interesting matchup.
I 100%
I've seen
agree.
it talked about a lot. Charleston has played some good basketball, especially earlier in the year. They played some high key opponents good, but gotta look here. Obviously, neither has beaten a great team. BPI is a drastic difference between the two, but also points per game is a drastic difference. But I think this is gonna be close. Ultimately, though, I might ride with San Diego State University. I think they just played some better teams. I think BPI, the clear difference there. This could very well be an upset, but I'm gonna roll with San Diego State. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite spots to pick an upset. I obviously
I agree.
think that on paper, San Diego State is the more competitive team.
I put Charleston in my bracket. I just don't know how confident I am in it.
Yeah. I think that, looking at some of the other 5 versus 12s here, we got Miami versus Drake. We got
Mm.
VCU St. Mary's. I think a lot of them have the potential to be upsets. This is one that I could definitely see happening, but
We
um,
can move Charleston on for the sake of some upsets.
yeah, I just don't want to get too upset heavy too early on. I mean,
Yeah, that's
San
fair.
Diego State is also not amazing versus, like teams in the top 25, it appears.
That's true.
Um,
Neither won a game, so
yeah, I mean, San Diego State has also only lost 3 times since December, apparently. So
yeah.
I
So
don't
they're
know.
getting
They're a
streaky at
pretty
the right
hot team.
time.
Yeah. Let's send San Diego State on through. There's some other 5 versus 12 games I think we can talk about a bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
Virginia versus Furman. I don't think we should have too much debate here. Virginia is a tournament-proven team. That defense holds up every year. Definitely veteran-led, heavy. I would put Virginia on versus Furman. Do you have any thoughts there?
I actually in one of my brackets I picked Furman to pass through, and all I could think about is the year that UCSB
Yeah, no,
beat
you're right.
Virginia as the 1 seed. Um, I don't think that this is necessarily like the same, number one, number 2 seed Virginia team that we see every year. I think that they have a bit more flaws, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They only average 68 points per game. They're a very
Mm,
slow tempo team. Mind you, they are very efficient, but when you look at this Furman team, they average over 82 points a game. And sure, they don't play the same competition that Virginia does in the ACC, but they can light it up. They can shoot the 3 ball super well. And this is also a place where I could see an upset happening. So I think what we should do is, maybe we should do is flip a coin to see which game of these two we pick an upset in. Unless you would prefer just
uh,
to pick this one and send Virginia through.
uh, Here we go. I'll flip it. Heads Virginia, tails Furman.
Well, no. We'll pick between
Oh,
Charleston and Furman for the
okay.
upset.
So heads Charleston, tails Furman.
All right, heads Charleston.
It was heads. So we'll send Charleston through.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that.
Creighton. Yeah,
I like Creighton in this game. I
I like
think that
Creighton as well. I don't think
there's a
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of reasons to like them there. There's a reason they were preseason top 10. They've kind of proven that this year. Here's some stats for y'all to kind of feast your eyes on. But there's a reason their BPI 11. They've had a pretty competitive season. I would say they've proven the
Yeah.
they're a viable
Same thing
team.
with Baylor. Do we really have to spend any time there? I love the way Baylor plays. I love Keontae George. That should be a win. I don't think we need to.
An interesting stat though, that I do have to bring up is that I think that there's only been a few times, well, actually, every single team who is ranked inside the top 10 of Ken Palm offensively, but outside the top 100 defensively, has never made the Sweet 16. And two of those teams are right here. Baylor is one of them, and Missouri is another. Both of these teams
Uh,
really struggle on the defensive side of the ball. Um, so I don't expect them to make a deep run. Is it enough to get by
but
UCSB? I think so.
yeah,
Um,
I think Utah State can beat Missouri. I think we look at the stat you just said, and obviously, upsets are bound to happen. Missouri seems like a really fraudulent team. I don't think putting Utah State
Yeah, I mean
into the next
Missouri,
round.
as you can see, both these teams can put up points, right? They're both averaging just under 80 points a game. But the difference for me in this Utah State win, hopefully, is what we're predicting, is Utah State has a lot of veterans on that team. They've experienced guard play, and you always like that
Yeah,
in a March Madness team to make a run. So I like Utah State there, and then I think we can both agree
yeah. Let's just go
Arizona is
Arizona and let's move on
passing
there.
Princeton. Princeton also rejected me, so shout out Princeton, I guess. Um, yeah,
I think
y'all.
FAU over Memphis as we get started here.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. This is another game. Then I'm not just saying
Two
this.
teams that are on fire right now.
Yeah, these teams are going crazy. I don't know. They can both score the ball pretty well. I think FAU has a slightly better defense, but man, this is going to be an interesting game that I'm definitely going
I
to
like
watch.
FAU.
Yeah, I'm going to go FAU just because we're from SoFlo, from Broward, but
Are we
man,
taking the Oral Roberts upset against Duke?
I am not. I think Duke is one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the country right now.
I'll agree with that.
They're in great form. I love Max Adamus, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that
Yeah.
if Oral Roberts were to play any other 5 seed, I think that I would have them favored. right? You play the St. Mary's, you play Miami, you put up a great fight. Who's the other team? San Diego State. I'd have Oral Roberts probably in any of those other games, but not Duke. Duke is. I know
Tennessee
that.
over Louisiana.
Yeah, I know Duke doesn't have Coach K anymore, but man,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just don't think I don't see it happening. And then Tennessee, I think we can put
Yeah,
through
yeah.
versus Louisiana. I don't think Louisiana has the firepower. And although Tennessee has
No.
been super inconsistent this
Tennessee
year,
dominates non-power 5 teams. I saw what they did to FGCU.
yeah, it's not pretty, but I think they'll run into some trouble so quickly, like after that,
We'll see.
that round. So this is a
I
very,
think I'm
very
gonna go
interesting.
Providence over Kentucky. Kentucky has been fraudulent in the tournament almost every year and has not had a good season. I'm gonna say Providence upsets them in round one.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I think if my let me see something here. I think Providence is actually a favorite in this game. Actually, no, they're not. They're not a favorite, but the line is like 4 points. Um,
Yeah.
it's a lot closer than people think. And I don't know. I do like Providence. I think
Yeah.
they're pretty experienced. But at the same time, I don't think Calipari is gonna fold like he did against Oral Roberts a couple of years ago. I think Oscar Shibwe could have his way. But I don't know. This is a pretty big toss-up game for me. You make
I
the call
say we
here.
roll Providence right here.
Let's roll with Providence, sure. This
And then
game I
Kansas State
really
over Montana State. I don't know.
yeah,
There's not much going on here.
I like Kansas State. Yeah, in that game.
Yeah.
Keontae, uh, old
I think
Gator fan.
Michigan State over USC here. USC did not look good when they lost at home to my FGCU Eagles, and I've not rolled with them since then. Boogie Ellis good, but rest of that team not as strong as most years. I think Michigan State with Tom Izzo at the helm should be the much better team here.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Just because Tom Izzo has that tournament experience, and then I like Marquette over Vermont.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend any time
I
there.
don't think this is a place for an upset to happen. You look at
No.
Vermont; they haven't played a single team in the top 25, and they are losing to St. Mary by 26. So
Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I don't see Vermont having.
Lost by 30 to Yale. I think they should be okay.
Yeah. Let's go to the Midwest. By the way, I don't know if you've looked a lot into it, but I think the Midwest and the West are by far harder
Yeah,
than the South
yeah,
and the East. Um,
most likely.
and I don't know, that could have some type of results in terms of, who the champion is. I think there's a slightly higher chance the champion comes from the West or the West. Just the right side of the bracket in general.
I'm
All
gonna
right, I guess
say Iowa over Auburn to get started here.
really, I kind of like Auburn.
Yeah,
That
there's
might
some
be some.
bias here. I mean, Auburn's playing good basketball, but I have a slight emotional tie to Iowa now, so I got
Why is
Iowa
that?
over. The girl I'm talking to is from Iowa, so we got to go emotional bias here and move Iowa into the next round.
It's a good enough reason for me, as long as you're okay with saying goodbye to Iowa afterward.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they'll be gone after that. We can just move Houston on while we're up there.
yeah. All right. This is an interesting game. Drake,
I
one
think
of the
Miami's
the
got
rap
it.
one of the rap goats. Yeah, I know they have an experienced team, experienced coach. They made the Elite Eight last year. But I do think Drake has a shot in this game. I don't think we should count them out
Maybe.
necessarily. Um, I don't know. They I think Drake is the one team they have an average age that's like older than like an NBA team or something crazy like that. Um, they're also super experienced, but I mean, if you look at you know the BPI is also way closer than people may expect here. Um, they beat Mississippi State. I don't know. This might be a closer game than people think, but I think Miami creeps by. I do think Drake will give them
Yeah,
trouble. I think they give them trouble.
I think Indiana should have Kent State while we're at here. Jalen
Yeah,
Hood Schifino, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Much better player than anyone Kent State has going
the
for them.
thing the thing for me
This team
though
looks good.
is Kent State plays really well when they play against higher competition. Like they kept it within
That's
five
true.
against Houston,
Yeah, yeah.
7 against Gonzaga. I think that this they could cause some trouble, and I don't know.
But you got to look at the BPIs, and I would look at the top 25 records too. Indiana went 5-2, so they've
Yeah,
shown that
this
they
is
can beat the
also a
best.
really interesting fact. In the past four tournaments, 12 of the last 16
Uh-huh.
were decided by single digits, and all four of them in the last tournament between 4 and 13 were single digits. So
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on. I still think Indiana has a slight advantage here. They could make a deep run, honestly.
Yeah, I
It
think so too.
just comes down to what team we see the day of the game.
I think
I
Iowa State over Pittsburgh.
this is a I don't know so much about
I
this.
don't like the way Pittsburgh's playing, and it's not like Dior Johnson's been there, the 5-star guard who ran into some legal trouble. Iowa State, the
Yeah,
Big 12 has just been a whole other level of dominant in college basketball this year, so I have to give slight edges there. But
I
I
guess
think I'm
that's
about to
true.
come with an upset next.
Really, you think
I'm gonna
Kennesaw
pick
State over
Kennesaw
Xavier?
State over Xavier because I saw Kennesaw State dominate the A-Sun this year. They as you can see they're 0-1 against top 25, but Xavier is about 500. Kennesaw State kind of ran the conference and then ran the table in the tournament. I saw them play a few times. Um, as you can see, they lost by 14 to Indiana. That loss by 34 to San Diego State is something to keep an eye on. But 2 wins against Liberty, who is a good team in our conference, and a close loss against VCU, who's a perennial tournament team. I think they could definitely pull off an upset here against a Xavier that might not be worthy of a 3 seed.
I don't know. I mean, Vegas has a line at 11.5 points right now.
I guess whatever
I
you
don't,
think is the pick here, but
I don't know. I don't think this is where an upset could happen. I think that there's a lot
mhm.
of other better spots for it to happen. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to go Xavier. I just think that I don't know, their offense is too potent. I've watched a couple of the games this year.
Yeah,
But I like the way they move the ball around. But yeah,
Texas A&M over Penn State.
but this game needs to be talked about a little bit more than just a straight pick 'em.
Uh,
I mean, Penn State's in great form. I know the Big Ten is not playing great basketball this year, from my understanding.
mhm.
Um, and obviously A&M is hot. They made it to the SEC championship. Um, but man, Penn State is also on a tear. They play pretty solid basketball. Um, I think on any given day, I would pick Texas A&M, but it's just going to come down to who wants it more on game day when you know when tip off happens. I guess we'll go with A&M though.
And I think Texas Colgate. We shouldn't have much conversation here.
Yeah, a fun fact though, Texas is 1-11 against the spread in their last 12 tournament games. Um, I think the line right now is something crazy like 13 and a half. I expect Colgate to cover and maybe make things interesting. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the country. If there is a place for a 2 seed to go down, uh, look no further than here. I don't think any other 15
Yeah,
seed has a chance at a 2 seed besides Colgate. Colgate can score. It doesn't matter how good of defense Texas plays at the perimeter. I think they're by far the best 3-point. Actually, probably not by far, but they are the best 3-point shooting team in the entire country. Um,
yeah.
but they did lose to Vermont by one, so maybe I'm just talking out of my butt. So I don't know.
All right,
All right.
last first round right here. We already got Kansas done. I'm gonna say Arkansas over Illinois. Arkansas is one of my favorite teams. They're finally healthy with their big three. I think this is a team that has not shown off their full potential, and they're ready to go to the next round. They're ready to go deep. I think this could be a really interesting
Yeah,
team.
and like I said before, I think that the West and the Midwest are both super, super deep. I saw something today that Arkansas has like 5 players on its roster that are going to be like potential NBA studs. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they always have a ton of talent. They have a bunch of long players who can stretch the floor. Yeah, I like Arkansas here. I think the Arkansas Kansas game is going to be a showdown.
Uh-huh.
It's also going to be the huge meme like what's the difference between Kansas and Arkansas or whatever? But yeah,
Right.
I like Arkansas. Um,
I've
St.
got
Mary.
St. Mary's.
Ooh, see, the thing is, I have VCU in this game.
All
Um,
right, let's go with VCU. We need an upset.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
been
I
stagnant.
think there's a couple of reasons why. I think that um, I don't know. I think they're a pretty solid team on both sides of the ball. They can score when you need them to. They don't play like a super fast tempo, but I think they're pretty efficient on both sides of the ball. Um,
Mhm.
I have them over St. Mary's.
UConn over Iona. We just talked about UConn a lot. I don't think we have to say anything crazy
Yeah,
here.
Iona is a team that could cause some scares, but I think UConn is able to get past them.
Yeah. TCU over the ASU Nevada matchup. I don't think we have to beat a dead horse here. It's another Big 12 team that's looked good all year, been ranked.
I
I
don't
don't
know
trust either
though.
of the team.
I do think one of these teams has the potential to beat TCU, but
Maybe. I don't think so.
yeah, I guess we'll stick with
Gonzaga over
TCU.
Grand Canyon. Gonzaga might not go far, but I think they'll go past Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Gonzaga just always. I think Theo put it
They'll
best.
be in the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and then they'll probably lose there. But I don't have any issues with them. Not or I don't think they'll have any issues in the first
I'm not.
round.
I'm not so sure they make the Elite Eight because of this team right here, but
Uh,
we'll see.
UCLA is definitely beating UNC Asheville. I don't want to.
And then this is an interesting game.
It could go either way. Whoever you pick, I can roll with here. Because
I
I don't
think
really know. I
there's
would say Northwestern, but
yeah. This is kind of a toss up. There's some crazy
mm-hmm.
stat that like uh, when Big Ten teams are the number 7 seed, they're like 31-1 or something crazy like that.
Jeez.
Just for that reason, let's go Boise State.
Yeah, let's go Boise State. All
All
right, so
right.
that's the first round.
Yeah.
Why
All
don't we
right.
just finish each side of the bracket now? So like we'll do the rest of the rest of the top, and we'll just go like that.
All right. So yeah, sure. Let's start with the South. I think I don't know. I think that when you look at those
I
numbers
think
that I
Bama
read,
has West Virginia. I think they're probably the best team in the country.
yeah, they've been very consistent. They don't slip up. Like when the Gators played
Well, on
Bama,
the
I was like,
court,
what? Oh,
they
okay,
don't.
yeah, that's true. Did you see that he had like
Yeah, I
security guards
saw
and
that.
stuff?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know though. I think the one flaw that I see in this team, besides any potential for off-court issues, is their lack of guard play. Not that they're bad. Not that they have bad guards. It's just their guards are not their biggest contributors. They're not the best.
I think Javon Quinterly coming on that team is enough, mixed with Brandon Miller and the other vets.
Yeah, but I don't know. And the thing is, like, two of their three best or highest scorers per game are freshmen, right? We always talk about,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have guys that you can count on that are veterans. And March Madness takes no prisoners, right? Like, I know the SEC tournament is hard, and you just won that.
Yeah.
Didn't really slip up, but I think that I still like them to make. They're in a lot of my Final Fours, but and even some of my championships. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure that this is like an invincible team.
I'd say Virginia over Charleston. Charleston has a good upset in the first round, but I think it ends against Virginia. I don't know if they're exactly the Cinderella story this year.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think is though? I mean, we don't really have a bunch of
If
Cinder.
we look here, I think the best chance is FAU because Purdue's, Ken Palm and all that stuff doesn't really line up. So FAU, I think, has the best chance of the teams that we picked. Arkansas, I think, has a okay chance at it. But if I had to pick, I'd probably say FAU looking at a lot of these lower seeds. I don't know many. Iowa could maybe give Houston some problems and get through, but if I had to pick, I'd say FAU. They're a 9 seed. I feel like that's low enough to qualify.
Yeah, I
Should
I
we
don't
say
know.
Creighton over Baylor here because we were talking about Baylor not making it through before? So
Yeah,
that's an
yeah, I
upset.
don't. Yeah, Baylor's defense is really, really worrisome for me.
And
They
then
they
Arizona over Utah State too to finish
I
that.
think Utah State could beat Arizona, but
Really?
I think I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Arizona because I don't think Utah State has proven that they can win big games this year.
Yeah.
You never know though. It could happen. Should we just finish off this region of the bracket?
Yeah, yeah. Let's just finish off this
I like Bama. I
tiebreaker
like
here
Bama and Creighton
too.
personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think Creighton could be another run that we don't see coming.
Yeah, they're so well balanced in my opinion. And then
And then
I
Bama
like
over Creighton.
yeah, I think Bama shows why
Yeah, the
they're
run
they're the
ends
Power
there.
Five team. Um, yeah, I think Bama gets
That's a good bracket there. That's a nice finish
yeah
that off.
yeah. Let's go to the East. I know you
I'm
said
gonna
you're
take
rolling.
FAU over Purdue because we just talked about that Cinderella story. Tennessee Duke. Who are we thinking there?
The problem that I have with FAU specifically versus Duke is that FAU is a really small team. They can
That's true.
score, they can score, but I don't know if anyone's guarding. What's that Purdue?
Zach Edey. But I think we've
Yeah,
seen this story before. I mean, if you remember Taco Fall and UCF when they played Duke in the Madness, and yes, they gave Duke trouble because their starting center was like 6'9", and Zion Williamson was basically the tallest guy. But at the end of the day, Duke still came away with the team win because they were the better team playing better basketball. in that moment, not just because there was a super tall guy on the other team. And yes, that gives problems, but I mean, you got to win it with more than one guy. Edie can't score 80 points, so I like FAU's offense better. They've shown good defense. They've beat other teams with size and held them to low points. So I would still think that FAU could be a potential run here.
Yeah, I also think it's possible. I think Elijah, what's his name?
Martin, I believe.
Yeah. He seems to be a baller. I know Aaron
I think
has
Duke
some
over
fire shots
Tennessee.
in him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Aaron gets a lot of good
I like
shots.
Duke over Tennessee as well, and I like Duke to beat FAU. I don't think
Yeah, I like Duke to beat
FAU is
FAU.
ready for
I
the
can see
moment. I
that.
think they had their run in
Providence,
2016.
Providence over Kansas State.
This is tough.
I think Michigan State over Marquette. I really want to pick Tom Izzo and that experienced Michigan State team.
I like that too, but Marquette, man, if you look at their resume, they're 7-2 versus top 25 teams. Um, their only real concerning losses are against Purdue, which is by 5, and Mississippi State loss. And then the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the way,
Have a
they're
good record against UConn.
yeah. I don't know. I really like Marquette, but I do see what you're saying. Tom Izzo
Mm-hmm.
has more experience, I guess. If it, I could see, I could
I don't
definitely
mind
see a
rolling with
world.
Marquette here, honestly, and then
Yeah,
taking Providence at the upset.
I could definitely see a world in which Izzo is able to slow the game down for Michigan State, and they will a very very close win. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I really like the guard play from Marquette.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Providence over Kansas State. I think that's a fair pick here. I think
do
Providence can get
you think
streaky.
so?
I think we need at least one. I mean, I get it, the 3-5, but the BPI is relatively similar. Same conference record with a couple more wins. You see, they played Marquette, beat them, played UConn, beat them. So they've shown the ability to
Yeah,
hang with some good teams. Records are fairly similar too.
yeah.
So
They
I think Providence could be a sneaky upset here, and then Marquette over Providence in that next round.
I like yeah,
And
and
then
then
I would say Duke over Marquette here.
I like Duke over Marquette. The only problem I have with Duke is they have a first year head coach. Um, they're not super efficient defensively. They're or
I think
actually
they're getting a lot better now, though.
yeah. They're peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
They didn't really seem to face too much trouble in the ACC tournament.
Yeah,
Um,
Virginia played them close, but that's Virginia, so I'd say it's
yeah.
expected.
Prior to that, I mean, I don't know. I like the form Duke is in now. I'll take
Uh-huh.
them. Um, let's head over to the Midwest.
Yep.
Um, if I'm
I
being
think
honest,
Houston over Iowa. We already
I
talked
like.
about that.
Are we able to just do this? Can
Yeah,
we
let's
just
just do, let's just do that. I think Indiana can beat Miami maybe,
I
and
like
then at least
Indiana over Miami as well. I don't know. I that might just be my personal
I
vendetta
mean maybe,
against
but I think
Miami.
that's a very valid personal beef right there. So
Yeah, I think so too. And when you look at the numbers, I don't think that Miami's defense is necessarily capable of stopping
yeah,
a pretty. I, I don't know.
I mean that's a dynamic duo of Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah,
So
this is also an Indiana team that I think can make a deep run. Like I could totally see them
yeah.
upsetting Houston. This is a very very talented squad. Um, I just
I
think
think
it's
Iowa
unfortunate.
State
Yeah, I think it's
maybe.
unfortunate that they drew this side of the bracket.
Yeah, I know that was unlucky for them.
Yeah. You like Iowa State? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Iowa State played a lot of good games against a lot of big teams. I mean, they showed out against Texas and both Kansas State, and they're playing in the harder conference, and they look good throughout the year.
Yeah, I
Ranked for
guess
a
that's true.
while. And the whole Big 12 really it feels like was ranked at one point. So
Yeah, I mean they have 14
nine and
games against
five
top
versus the top
25.
25 with a similar BPI, uh, and less points per game, but they're also playing a lot better defenses over there in
Yeah,
that conference. Look how low they hold their opponents to.
yeah, they'll definitely slow this game down for what it's worth. Um, I just don't know if they'll be able to keep up with Xavier. I don't know. Well,
And
yeah,
then
I could see them. I could see them winning that game. I don't have them taking the Elite Eight though.
no. So I mean, are we taking Texas A&M or Texas here?
I think Texas is the more well-rounded team.
Yeah, I agree.
It can happen, obviously, especially with a rivalry like this, which hopefully is reinvigorated in the college football world pretty soon. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Texas is they check off all the boxes except for that head coach, the interim head coach. They're very efficient on both sides of the ball. They can make you pay. Um, they won what they won the Big 12 tournament, right?
I believe yes, they did. They actually destroyed Kansas in the final.
Yeah, I just think this team is too dangerous.
Yeah, I think
Too,
Texas is going to win the next two games. I think Texas takes here, and then they take Iowa State, lose to Houston. I feel like that's a
yeah,
good.
I'm in agreement there. I think also
So
we're playing it relatively conservative. We have some one seeds advancing.
somewhat. I mean, we have some upsets, but I feel like I don't know where the Cinderella is going to come in.
Yeah,
Let's move down to this. I think this is the last side of the bracket here. Um, this is a good, really good game. I want to
this
take
is
one. I think Arkansas beats Kansas here. I saw Kansas struggle a lot against Texas, and it's been a
yeah.
rough stretch down. I'm going to take Arkansas because we need some controversy, and I
I
love
don't
those 3-5 stars with Nick Smith back.
Yeah, I have no problem sending Arkansas past Kansas. You know me, I like the
Yeah,
SEC. But yeah, no, I do think that they have the athletes and the talent to compete with Kansas. Um,
and then
I
I
think
think
that'll
UConn.
be
Yeah,
I think that'll be a great game. And then yeah, I have Utah getting past VCU.
yeah.
Um,
And then, do we have Arkansas over UConn?
I don't think Arkansas makes it that deep. I had them in one of my brackets make the Elite Eight, but I was feeling
Yeah.
real. I think
So we'll take UConn. Yeah.
UConn is in. I don't know. They're such a well balanced team. They don't have a lot of
TCU
flaws.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have to say like I could definitely see UConn like winning the entire thing. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's
I
plausible.
100%.
They look
Yeah,
really good early, so
yeah. I don't know. We'll see. TCU
uh,
Gonzaga.
T- I think
I like
Gonzaga is not as star power as they have been recently. I don't know if the players are quite as good.
Yeah,
And
let's look
TCU
at
has been ranked all year. They've been consistent. Gonzaga is 500. TCU one game under 500. The BPIs are drastically different, but I don't know. This could
yeah,
go either way, honestly. You see TCU splitting with or 1-for-3 against Texas. Got to split with Kansas. Got to split with Baylor. All these good teams. 2 wins against Kansas State. Split with West Virginia. Blew out Iowa. Like that's a lot.
yeah,
Alabama Gonzaga has that good win against Alabama, but you lost by a lot to Purdue. Lost to Baylor. Lost to Texas. So
yeah.
uh,
I don't know. We can't forget that Drew Timmy exists as much of a
I
meme
know.
as it might be.
So I guess we
Um,
can take Gonzaga here.
yeah, I like the Zags. I don't think that the Big 12 creates a bunch of like invincible teams. I think that
Yeah,
TCU
and I like UCLA
this will
and
be a good
Boise
game. I
State.
think. Yeah, I like
Me too. I
UCLA as
agree.
well, and I like
And
UCLA to
I
beat
think
Gonzaga.
UCLA beats Gonzaga too. I think that's a rematch of what was it, the semifinal? Yeah, the final four. Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The final four a few years ago where Jalen Suggs hit that dagger. I think UCLA gets the get back. I love Amari Bailey, the freshman, some good vets, Jamie Jaquez, all those guys. And then I think UConn, I could see them beating UCLA. I love UCLA, but I think UConn gets a win there.
yeah. I think having Jalen Clark out with the Achilles injury really hurts them. I think they
Yeah,
have
exactly.
a freshman center who was also was recently injured. Forget his name, but yeah, if it wasn't for injuries, I'd probably have UCLA in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here's what we got right now.
It's
Um,
an interesting Final Four.
it's very interesting.
Do we have
And
Duke over Alabama? I think is the big question.
yeah, and also it's something important to note is all those teams that I said meet all the criteria from earlier. None of them exist in the East. Purdue does not meet that criteria. Marquette does not. So I think it makes sense for a historic program like Duke to make it. And then Bama, Houston, and UConn, I love as teams.
I think UConn beats Houston while we're sitting here.
Why is that? Why do you think?
I don't. I mean, we look at Houston's opponents' points per game. Obviously, great defense there. But look what Houston is playing. I mean, I know the BPI is high, but look at that top 25. You didn't
Yeah,
play great competition throughout the year, and you didn't even win your conference tournament. So you just recently struggled at the end.
yeah. I
Call
think
for pause for me against the UConn team. I think is going to start to streak. If we look at Houston's notable games, if you scroll back up there, um, they got St. Mary's, but we don't know about them either. you got Virginia, which is impressive. Oregon, I think, is like it didn't even make the tournament. Lost to Alabama, and then you had a split with Memphis, kind of where you went 2 for 3. So I think UConn gets a win here.
This is a tough one because I think for me,
I hate
I
seeing 2 1 seeds in the final. Also, I think so.
yeah, I don't know. I think that they're one seeds for a reason though, right? Like
Sure,
I
yeah.
don't know. Houston has super experienced coach, super experienced team, and I completely agree. They haven't
I'll
faced
roll with whatever you choose here.
um
Because I think Duke can beat Bama, and then so if you want to say Houston beats UConn, we do it that way. So
I don't know. I think it's gonna. If this were the Final Four, I would bet that Houston and Bama both make it. But
mm-hmm.
I do see that UConn. I mean, I don't know. I think that they get outcoached possibly. Houston's head coach has coached over 300 games as a head coach. He is winning with win percentages like near 76%. UConn's is a bit less experienced, under 150 games coached, less than like around a 64% win rate. Like I don't know. I don't think that.
Not to mention Houston kind of has a home court advantage if you look at it right there. It's held in Houston.
Yeah,
So
I think for that reason and for amongst many
so
or others.
Houston against Bama.
Yeah, I also think that UConn's rough patch kind of in the middle of the season scares me. Right? Like they start 14-0 and then they get really off course. I think at one point were they unranked?
Yeah, I don't think they even finished ranked, but yeah, maybe they did.
Yeah, I think they did finish ranked, but man,
Yeah.
there was a huge rough patch in the middle of the season. And sure, if UConn were to win all these games, what they'd have to win 1, 2, 3, 4 straight games. That at that point
Right.
they're a hot team. Now I'm sure they'll be hard to take down, but if anyone can do it, I think it's Houston, especially when they're playing pretty much at home, like you said. And then Bama versus Duke. I like Bama. I do.
I can take Bama. Yeah.
Because remember, we're trying to maximize points, right? And it's very, very possible that Duke doesn't get past Purdue. It's possible that what if Duke somehow gets upset by Oral Roberts and Max Abmas in the first round, right? Like this also we have to remember this is a first year head coach for Duke. This is not Coach K that we're used to. I imagine Coach K is probably on the phone with them now, giving them advice and stuff. But I got Bama.
I'm gonna take Bama over Houston too while we're here.
You think so? I think Houston
if
wins
it gets to this, I trust the team that proved it all year against the better teams. And yes, both of you are hot, but I trust the team like Alabama who beat slightly better opponents during the year and really good quality opponents in the tournament. With the superstar, I think Brandon Miller will be the best player on the court. I got to give Bama the edge here.
I just don't know that Bama has the experience. Like I think that they rely too heavily on
I guess.
I don't know. I would probably end up picking Houston.
All right, let's take Houston.
I think it's at home. I also just don't like Bama. They're always going to be a football school for me, and for them to win a national championship in basketball would just be too heartbreaking for me, I think.
And our final score, I was thinking something like 76-70.
Yeah, we can also look at the points per game. So like take the average.
But I feel like you got to go a little bit lower because you're in a March Madness tournament game. So like Bama gets 82, so I feel like 78-79. Houston.
Yeah.
So I think 79-73.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily matters. 79-73 is fine by me.
And that's a good bracket right there.
Boom.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
If you have any comments on, our takes for the tournament, let us know in the comments.
Yes, sir.
But until then, we'll probably drop a couple other episodes in the near future. So be on the lookout. Share with friends.
Yep.
And good luck in March Madness. Don't get too upset if your bracket gets busted early. It's gonna happen to everyone. But yeah.
Peace out.
So. All right. Cool.
All right.